Hello, my name is Marshall Pynkoski, and I'm co-founder and co-artistic director of Opera Atelier. The interesting thing about Opera Atelier is that Jeanette and I never planned to create an opera or ballet company, much less a Baroque opera or ballet company. We were simply two dancers who adored what we were doing, and someone gave us tickets to a concert being given by Tafelmusik, an orchestra playing on period instruments. I had no idea what period instruments were. I didn't know what that meant. But when we went to Tafelmusik's concert, we were overwhelmed, not by just what we heard, but by what we saw. For the first time, we saw a group of stupendous instrumentalists who were making music together. They were watching each other. They were sending signals to each other. There was no conductor. There was a tremendous sense of music making and support throughout the entire orchestra. Plus, we were hearing some of the most beautiful music we had ever heard, vocal music and dance music. And amazingly enough, although Jeanette and I had very strong music backgrounds, strong theater backgrounds, it was music from operas and ballets we had never heard of, by composers we had never heard of. Just out of our own interest, we started to wonder, well, who are these composers? Remember, this was 40 years ago. Who is Rameau, Lully, Charpentier, Mondonville, Monteverdi? It became clear to us if we wanted to find out more about those composers and what sort of performances they were responsible for, that we'd have to just do some research on our own. First, we went to New York, to the Library of Performing Arts, and found out to our amazement that dance notation from the 17th and 18th century existed. There were books that were written teaching you how to read it, but we had to be in Paris if we really wanted to research seriously. Our friends had always told us, if you ever want a job, Marshall, Jeanette, you have to go to Paris, audition for the Folies Bergère, the Moulin Rouge, the Crazy Horse, or the Lido. All of them are looking for people who look like you. And we went to Paris, we auditioned at the Moulin Rouge, they were opening a new show. And all the girls had to be over 5'10". The boys had to be over 6'2". And it was an incredible experience. We ended up with our working papers. We moved to Paris, 2 shows a night, 7 days a week, if you can imagine, at the club. We shared the stage with horses, with tanks of dolphins. It was the most extravagant, vulgar, outrageous show you can imagine. But we had been given letters of introduction from people at U of T, from professors at U of T, at the Royal Ontario Museum, so we were able, in our spare time, to get into the archives of the Bibliothèque Nationale, of the Paris Opera, of the Opera Comique. We came back to Toronto with a huge amount of information about Baroque opera, Baroque ballet, what it was and how it was performed. We started doing excerpts at the Royal Ontario Museum, plugging a tape recorder into the wall with music by Tafelmusik. It grew so quickly, so many people started attending, the fire marshal moved us into the lecture hall. Too many people showed up. At the end of a year and a half, they said, you're a fire hazard, you're a security hazard. They sent us to the Art Gallery of Ontario. We were there for almost 2 years in Walker Court. The final evening, when we did excerpts of Handel's Julius Caesar, there were so many people lined up outside. We let everyone in. We had a great time, but we were kicked out because we had broken all of the security regulations. We moved into a real theater at University of Toronto, Macmillan Theatre. Great experience, but we ended up getting a phone call from David Mirvish, who is Toronto's theater angel. He'd been attending our shows. The shows had grown. We were doing full productions. He said, what you people need is a real theater. I'm willing to move you into the Royal Alexandra and put you as an add-on to my season. I can't lose money, but I don't have to make money. Let's see what we can do. And David, bless his heart, had us there for about 3 years. He built our subscription, he built our audience, and from there, we moved into the Elgin and took off on our own. An incredible story, unplanned, driven by love of what we were doing, and surrounded by people who loved what they were doing. The first 2 years, no one was paid. Tafelmusik wasn't paid. I wasn't paid. No one was paid. We were just doing stuff that we thought was incredible. And that love, that drive, that obsession has turned into something that has changed our lives.